Hello and welcome to Long Road Sixth Form College. My name is Andrea Joyce and I am the Film Studies course team leader. In this video, because you can't join us here at Long Road in person, I'm going to be attempting to give you a bit of an overview of what A-level film studies is like. As you can see here on the slide, these are my contact details. So if after this video you still have some questions that I haven't managed to answer, then do please feel free to email me and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, so let's start off by talking a little bit about what the course entails. So there are three sections to the A-level Film Studies course. The example that we follow is OCR, and we have component 1, which is film history, component 2, which is critical approaches to film, and component 3, which is making short film. So for component 1, we'll be looking at US film history in section A, and in section B we'll be looking at European film history. So within that we look at experimental cinema and French New Wave as well. For component 2, which is the critical approaches to film, there are three sections in that. The first section is contemporary US and UK films. So at the moment we're looking at Star Wars The Force Awakens and Ex Machina, and thinking about how the two films really exemplify the differences between the US film industry and the UK film industry. For section B of the critical approaches to cinema paper, we look at documentary film. That's a really exciting unit, and we get to look at lots of different types of documentary and all of the different styles and approaches to documentary filmmaking. And for section C of the critical approaches to cinema, we look at three films all about the ideology of conflict. So it really helps us to understand how different parts of the world approach the topic of conflict. For component 3, making short film, this is the practical unit. And a lot of people who study film really get very excited about this unit because it gives us a chance to take all of the theoretical approaches to cinema and put them into practice. And you have quite a lot of free rein and creativity when it comes to the making of the short film in terms of what topic you would like to cover within that practical component. So it's three components, two of which are exam based, both worth 35%, they're 2-hour papers, and then you have your coursework section which is worth 30%, and that's usually done around the beginning of your second year. Okay, so that hopefully gives you a little bit of an overview of what to expect and an insight into how much diversity there is in terms of the types of films we look at and also the different countries that we look at. So I've included this slide so you can see some of the set text films that we look at. So there are other films that we watch as well, but this is a slide that has some of the set text films. So those are the films that the exam board will definitely be asking you questions on. But certainly an all-round knowledge of film is great. So definitely try and watch as much film as you can before you join, and try and explore different types of film, to the kind of films that you might go and see at the cinema with your friends. Perhaps try some art house cinema, some foreign film, some old black and white films as well, and really extend your knowledge and understanding of film in that way. Okay, so one of the questions that I'm always asked on open days is, how do I know if film studies is really right for me? So some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself are on this slide. So do you love film? Do you watch a lot of films? Do you tend to be one of those people who watches the director's cut, the director's commentaries, or perhaps you see a film and then you think to yourself, how did they do that shot? And you find yourself researching on YouTube for hours and getting lost down a kind of rabbit warren of behind the scenes footage and interviews with directors. Do you really enjoy talking about film? Do you kind of watch films a lot and they stay with you for quite a few days afterwards, really leave a lasting impression on you? Do you enjoy writing essays? We do write a lot of essays in film studies, so if you're not a fan of that, you may want to consider if film studies is really right for you. But if you love film, if you're really interested in it as a medium, maybe you want to go into the film industry, maybe you don't, but you just really love film, then perhaps this is the right course for you. So another question that I'm frequently asked is, what subjects go really well with film studies? So some students like to do film studies alongside more traditional subjects like English literature, history, geography, politics perhaps, All of those subjects are great combinations with film studies, but we also have people who do film studies alongside media studies and photography, other lens-based subjects, and that's a really fantastic combination. Equally, we have people who do film studies alongside business or maths or physics just because they absolutely love film. There really is no right or wrong combination. I think if you're interested in film studies, then this is definitely the right place for you. And if you feel it would complement some of your subjects, then go for it. Okay, so one of the things that really makes Long Road Sixth Form College Film Studies course a little bit different is that what we try to do is incorporate as much practical filmmaking as possible. Although your coursework project is not until your second year, what we try and do is upskill you, give you as many opportunities to do practical filmmaking as possible. So often we will have at the end of a unit an opportunity to perhaps recreate a scene. In this slide you can see some of the props that I made for a recreation of a scene from one of our set text films, Do the Right Thing. So we as a whole class went into a studio, everyone had a role, some people were in the camera team, the lighting team, a couple of people were director, assistant director, and we reproduced and recreated a film shot for shot. Okay, so some of the students had to be actors. It's really important that they knew their lines very, very well. And that process of recreating the scene had many, many benefits. It meant that everyone had an opportunity to work on location, which is a really great discipline to learn. But it also meant that they had a different kind of in-depth understanding of that scene, which not only helped them from a practical sense, but also helped them when it came to analysing that sequence as part of their written work. So this is something that we try and do a lot. Also, after your film noir unit, when you've watched the brilliant film Double Indemnity, we also then give you a box of film noir inspired props and ask you to come up with a film sequence and again film that as a whole class. So these kind of practical exercises are kind of peppered throughout your first year to really give you an opportunity to be the best possible filmmaker you can be. So when it comes to doing your practical work, you had experience of using the camera, of editing, of working on location, of organising a shoot, all of which actually takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work and practice. So this is designed to give you the best possible opportunity to get a high grade piece of coursework. Okay, something else you need to be aware of when you're coming to study film at Long Road is the need to read around the topic. Okay, now that could be that maybe you want to pick up the latest issue from the Library of Sight and Sound, which is a really, really fantastic, very well regarded film journal. Or maybe when you're out and about in town, you might want to pick up the magazine Film Stories, which is not quite as highbrow, but really, really interesting and engaging in terms of what's happening in the film industry at the moment. Or you might want to pick up an old-fashioned book. I'm a big fan of books, not just because I'm old, but because they're fantastic in terms of giving you insights into film genres, film movements, particular films. Some of the BFI companion guides to the set text films, such as Do the Right Thing and Double Indemnity, are really, really useful to give you lots and lots of insights into the film, what the director was thinking at the time, and what it is that they were trying to achieve with the film. So if you're someone who likes reading around a subject, that's a really good thing, and I would strongly advise you to read around as well as watching around film studies, because that's one of the ways in which you will excel at this subject. Okay, so what extra things do we do here at Film Studies? One thing that we really try and do is have as many trips and talks as possible. So a few examples of the things we've done this academic year: we went to the Water Sprite Film Festival, which is a student-run film festival, and we attended their Creative Futures Day. They did this in conjunction with BBC Three, which meant that the whole day there was a fantastic array of speakers talking about careers in the film and media industry, how to write a screenplay, the process of getting a script approved and a programme approved, the development process, the production process. There was so much fantastic information, and we got to hear from people who work in the industry right now, and it was a fantastic opportunity for students to make their own connections and network with people, as well as actually getting the opportunity to pitch an idea to the BBC Three creative team. And one of the really exciting messages from that event was that the industry is looking for people just like you, and they're actively encouraging people just like you to get involved in the industry. It was a really fantastic event, and we hope to attend next year as well. Talks are another big thing. Here we try and have as many guest speakers as possible come in. We don't let a small thing like a global pandemic stop us. So recently we had the college's first ever virtual talk, which was Lydia Noakes come and talk to us via Zoom about her work in documentary films. She's made loads of really interesting documentaries, including the very innovative A Day in the Life of Coronavirus Britain, which was edited in just 3 days, following 3,000 contributions from the British public towards that documentary. So really, really interesting process, and it was great to get her insights into documentary film as a medium as well. So events and talks is something we do a lot of here in Film Studies. So in terms of progression, we also have quite a lot of really strong links in terms of careers and universities. So last year we had former BBC journalist Simon Hall come and give a really excellent talk to our students about his career as a journalist. Again, that was a very interactive talk, and it had lots of really useful information about how to break into the industry. And journalism is a career that many film studies students are thinking about going into. We also have really strong university links with places like Anglia Ruskin here in Cambridge, and also UEA over in Norwich that has a really fantastic film studies course. So last year we had our first ever film studies conference, where 2 professors from those universities came and spoke to the students. So they gave a really interesting talk, not only about what it's like to study at their universities, but they also gave university level talks on their own specialist topics. So one talk was on Latin American cinema, and the other was on Netflix and binge watching. So really interesting, quite different talks, but really gave the students an insight into what it would be like to study film and television at university level. So it was a really great event, and we hope to do more of that next academic year as well. Okay, so hopefully now you'll be able to listen to and watch some sound bites from current students who will tell you what they think about studying A-level film here at Long Road.
Right, so personally what I really like about film studies is that I've been able to explore so many new aspects of film, and all incredibly in depth. I've been introduced to so many new films that genres that I've never really touched upon before, new filmmakers. And I've always wanted to work in the film industry, so there's also a practical aspect within film studies. So we get to create our own work. I've created my own short films that I've been really happy with, and that's all fun and great because I can use the skills that I've developed from doing that towards building up my own portfolio in the future.
I like film studies because we get the option to do lots of extracurricular activities, and we do lots of practical work in the lessons, which gives us the opportunity to apply what we learn in class to real life.
So what I enjoyed about film this year was probably the opportunity to watch a series of diverse films that a lot of us probably wouldn't ordinarily watch, and then analyse them and recreate different scenes from them, like Brothers on the Wall for Do the Right Thing.
I enjoy film studies because I've watched a lot of films I wouldn't have usually watched, like film noir films and Do the Right Thing. I also got to talk with a producer of a documentary that gave us advice on the film industry. I also enjoy being able to go to a picture house to watch an indie film. I like that we actually get to make films related to the things we've been studying.
The Long Road Film Studies A-level course it's really good. It's genuinely one of my top 3 subjects of the 3 subjects that I do, so do some of the math. Yeah, I've learned a lot about film production as well as just researching films in great depth. There's some really decent ones that I've been introduced to on this course that I would no ways in hell have actually watched if I'd never done the course. And I really recommend it. I genuinely do.
A few reasons why I like film studies is probably the practicality of it, that we get to recreate film scenes and create our own short films, and also the trips are really fun. But besides that, just taking film studies is really interesting and fun. You really get to analyze a lot of films and really get to know the technical aspects and techniques that are used in films and filmmaking. So I think if you're interested in film or filmmaking, it would be a really fun subject, and I enjoy always going into film studies, and I feel like if that's something you want to get into, I would definitely recommend taking it. It's really fun and you get a lot of experience in film and filmmaking.
I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that it's answered all of your questions. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.